I want to talk about this, the concert industry. We've all been talking about the ebbs and flows of streaming and album sales. And conversely, that has affected how many people are actually going to concerts these days. And, slowly that conversation turned from, nobody's buying music anymore to, artists are only making their money while out on the road. Well, if you haven't noticed, the price of concert tickets has gone up, but that may not be just because artists are trying to make up the difference for the lack of album sales revenue. It may be because the shows themselves have actually become bigger and more expensive to produce. There was a really fascinating piece in Polestar, which is, a magazine, newspaper, industry website. I don't even know how you would describe things anymore. That went in detail on what the industry is looking at so far. It's July 23rd, and the mid-season, the mid-year reports are starting to come out. And, you look at what they're doing as far as sales go, and you look at how big these shows have gotten, and some of these numbers are extraordinary. It starts with U2 for me personally. I mean, U2 really, Zootopia and all these shows, they were really doing some pretty lavish shows. The Stones were doing some lavish shows, of course. Madonna, Michael Jackson, those are some early, iterations of what we see today. But now it seems like those big shows that only U2 were doing, or only Madonna was doing at the time, with the choreography and the stage presence and the screens and all this stuff, have become the average and have become the norm. For instance, according to Polestar, Taylor Swift's Reputation tour uses 52 semi-tractor trailer trucks and 30 flatbed trucks just to haul the gear for her show. 82 trucks, combination flatbed and semis, just to get her stuff around. That's unbelievable. In 2013, Lady Gaga's concert circuit included a 5-story Gothic castle. Maybe that's why she didn't play the West Hampton Beach Performing Arts Center. It's hard to get. Hey Claire, can we get a 5-story Gothic castle in there? And I know the hardcore purists will say, look, it should be about the music. And that's true. And yeah, sure, pop music tends to kind of gravitate towards this sort of thing a little bit more. But as this article points out, again, the Stones, U2, like this is becoming the norm. If you're going to take a show out and you're going to go play stadiums or arenas, you've got to have a fair bit of production to go along with that. Let's go inside and look at some of the numbers here. Polestar released the mid-year numbers right now. And the live market is grossing a record-setting $2.21 billion. That's up $240 million, 12% from last year at the same time. The average ticket price has hit a record high of $96.31. That's $96 just to go see a show. So, by the way, when those, and I see this a lot, when you guys are complaining about a $75 ticket here or a $55 ticket here to see a great show at one of our local venues on the island, $96 is the average ticket price. That's a record high right now. It's just crazy, absolutely crazy. One of the interesting reasons why the ticket price has gone so high, believe it or not, is actually to drive up and dry out the secondary market. Live Nation, AEG, the ticket promoters all across, the area have realized that if they raise their prices in order for the secondary ticket market to, make a profit, they have to increase their prices. They don't get to sell as much. People are going to the primary market first. It's a deranged way of thinking, but it actually is kind of working according to Polestar. If I'm going to charge $70 for a ticket and I know it's going to go into the hands of a secondary broker and they're going to tack on $30 and charge $100 for that ticket, well, then I might as well charge $95 for that ticket. And that seems to be what's happening. It's kind of crazy to think, but that seems to be what's happening. Rolling Stone spoke to Ray Winkler. He's the CEO and design director of Stewfish Entertainment Architects, and they're the firm that created the visual landscapes for Beyonce and Jay-Z's current tour On the Run 2. They've done sets for U2, Madonna, Pink Floyd, and Cirque du Soleil. They did the London and Beijing Olympics. Remember those huge, big presentations? These guys were responsible for those things. So they kind of know what they're talking about. And they pointed out some interesting things. You know, they talked about the fact that sales figures have gone down, and that's why these shows have become more lavish. But a couple of things that maybe we didn't really realize that were going on that are going on. Ray says pyrotechnics are and forever will be a part of shows. You know, anything that they can do, flames, fireworks, sparklers shooting out from the stage. Ray says fans will always endure and love that. He doesn't see that improving all that much, except on the timing. If they can figure out a way to time and precise those, fireworks and flames a little bit easier, fireworks a little bit more difficult, he sees that being an improvement. But where he sees real improvement is fan experience and AR. He says, and I quote here, what's happening much more on top of pyrotechnics is audience participation, like giving wristbands that are controlled by the show and change colors with patterns with the show. I think that trend is going to increase with augmented reality as well. Fans downloading an app and holding it against the screen to get an AR experience with the band. But how loyal fans are going to be to AR, only time will tell. I've kind of seen some of these things here. They'll give people wristbands and such, and as people hold them up, they'll change colors. You get a wide shot of the concert that's happening, and then you see all the color changes. Sort of something that's gone on with the Super Bowl. You remember, I forget who it was, they had to hold up a little card, and that changed colors a couple of years ago. I think that's cool stuff. I think we'll see a little bit more of that. The other thing that they're saying is bigger, wider stages. We saw this a lot with Roger Waters, right? I remember seeing the Roger Waters stage and going, oh my goodness, it was this huge, wide stage and had these two huge screens on them. That comes from Ray and his company. You know, he's saying stages are becoming wider, catwalks are going deeper into the audience. On the new Jay-Z Beyonce tour, they've designed a bridge that is going to go over the audience, so, you know, the artist can be above the audience all the way through. Taylor Swift has done that. The Stones, Bridges to Babylon, they had a bridge during their tour, so it's not an entirely new thing, but it's becoming more and more common. Ray cites U2's latest tour, the Experience and Innocence and Experience tour. They had that big wide screen that they went inside of at times. He says that concert technology is actually driving regular technology. He goes, screens the size that U2 took out on their shows never existed, and now you find them in city centers around the world. So the concert industry is affecting regular everyday life. People are taking more and more the things that are being innovative inside of this industry, and they're applying it to regular everyday lives. This is one thing that he said that I found to be really, really interesting. He says a show no longer starts when the curtain rises. How important is that? How many times have you gone to a show and people walk in the arena and they walk in the stadium and right away they pull out their phones and they start taking pictures, there's selfies, there's Instagramming, there's Snapchatting it. They're doing all that stuff. Ray said the number one thing that has changed for the designers of these sets is show starts when the doors open, not when the artist comes out. People are taking pictures and Snapchatting and doing all this stuff before the show even really technically begins. And he says congruently, they have to be on their toes with some of the visuals because, you know, by the time a show comes to your city, odds are you've already seen on Instagram or Snapchat or Facebook what the set looks like. So the set has to change. It has to be video driven because they want it to be new and fresh by the time you come along. They're talking about this latest Jay-Z and Beyonce tour, saying that there's a lot of photos and visuals on the screens as the doors open, but they're consistently changing because they know how many people are going to be Instagramming and Snapchatting this stuff before a show even begins. So it kind of seems like crazy to think, but literally Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, Twitter, social media is changing the way These guys are designing sets, bigger, wider, more screens, more visuals, things starting. The Paul McCartney show at the Coliseum, that was amazing. Like the pre-show was so good. The music that was playing was like remixed Beatles stuff, and the visuals were beautiful. It was nice. It was nice. Like Cuddles and I sat there, and we really enjoyed just watching it. Like usually you just kind of people watch. You know, you pull the whole, oh, look at this one. Look at this one. Look at her. Look at her. You usually do that. We were kind of looking at the screens more than anything. So I thought that was kind of cool. But it's cool. It's funny how internet 2.0, if you will, the social media revolution is changing all of this stuff. How shows are done, how expensive they are. YouTube screens showing up in Times Square, all that kind of stuff. You know, it's just funny how the world works and what one thing does to interact and change the other thing. And also, I think people are just more down for the experience. I think that's been the biggest change for people over the last 10 to 15 years. And I don't know if it's a generational thing, a Generation Y or millennials or whatever. But you read about this stuff all the time. They're less about savings and 401k plans and more about experiencing the now. More restaurants, more festivals, more about what you can go through and experience now than saving for the future. So I also think that people are a little bit of a part of this. But what I find interesting is, I know plenty of baby boomers out there that are on Facebook and on Instagram and acting the same way a quote unquote millennial would act. I mean, I know plenty of baby boomers that are out there spending $150, $200, $300 on a pair of tickets to go see their favorite artist. And they're up there with their phones, Instagramming it. See it on my feed all the time. I think, I don't know really what it is. I don't know what it is. Technology, post 9/11 world. Like, I'm not really sure what it is, but I feel like we are all a little bit more experienced based than we were in the past. Who knows? Would love to get your thoughts on that.